The cat you see on your screen now is what we're going to learn about today. First, we can see that the cat's head is what shape? It's a flat oval like ellipsoid, right? It's an ellipse. We can draw a flat elliptical shape, and below that, it's like a C shape. This is its head. Then its body curves down from this half. Below is its tail. This point corresponds to its, you see, find this line here. It corresponds to this small front part. This front part is in this position. Let's express it with a small arc below. First, let's use an overall perspective, an overall view, using long lines to express it. Then inside this position is its small ear. Find the corresponding position on this side. Which ear is higher, which is lower? Let's find the corresponding parts. Bring out this ear shape. Bring out the ear shape in this position. This corresponds to a simple geometric form, using medium length lines to bring out the whole shape. What about its eyes? For the eyes, I'll first draw a line, because its eyes sit along this line, right? Two big eyes within this width. We'll draw here another circle and another circle on this side to find the position of its eyes. Then comes its small nose. What shape is the small nose? Do you see it's a triangle? We'll locate its small nose here. Bring out that triangular nose shape. Then below that are exactly the sides of the mouth. Let's start with the eyes, right? The lines are relatively short. The eyes face in this direction. Widen this line, then fold it upward. Widen the contour line. It will naturally look more lively, right? Now we have the shape of both eyes. The kitten's upper eye corners are a bit longer. You can draw them a bit longer inside. There's also a small circle inside. That's the cat's pupil, right? Let's add the small pupil shape. The round pupil is slightly larger. Let's make it clear. Bring out both pupils. Below that, the sides of the small mouth, one side longer, one shorter. Bring that out. Make it clear. The whole nose curves up a bit from this point. Add that in, and now this part is basically complete. Then immediately look upward for what? Find its ears. The ears and face position. Its ears are a bit farther away, aren't they? The shape of the ears. Include that I just mentioned. Don't demand yourself to draw perfectly. But practice these lines, because once you master the lines, drawing later will be much easier. Now create the ear shape, then find what corresponds to the ear on this side. The lines were long before, now I use short strokes to form the ears. This part folds down the little chin. When drawing it, stay relaxed, because what are we doing next? We'll outline. We'll outline the kitten's facial contour lines. Then continuing down the neck, see this point has a bump. It's raised. Why is it raised? Because this is exactly the kitten's arm, right? This little paw is heavier here, and right above are its ears, also heavy. The position of the dark ears. Let's find it, then we'll move to the details. When we usually draw, we start with darker colors. First, draw the darker colors. So now we'll take a soft pencil. First, the darkest areas, which is the position of the eyes. Look at how I'm holding the pencil. How has it changed? Our normal way of holding a pen. I want this edge to be more refined. So this way, my grip creates more detailed lines, transitioning from this edge inward. See that capturing the small contour edge. This is the kitten's eye. We're drawing isn't the color darker. This is the darkest point in our drawing, the kitten's eye, then the distant eye. Same principle, still outline this edge first. Same approach. Now this side of the cat's eye, isn't the color darker, the lower eyelid like before? Just draw a slightly wider thick line. The small nose overall gets darker color. Draw it as a slightly darker nose with the soft pencil. You can see the middle pattern is darker. Using the outlining method, working upward. First draw the darker lines moving upward. Everyone can see this. The direction is arranged like this. The heavier positions are closer to the front position. Draw darker. Also draw clearer. Then as we move backward, isn't this point also darker? So let's strengthen this back point too. This side is also a small brown area along with It might not look exactly the same because we're practicing line work, so there will be slight differences. Then this part goes up all the way to where? See how this direction changes like this because it needs to go toward the ear. Its direction continues smoothly to the side of the cat, coming back. Then we continue going downward on the lower position. Isn't there also brown color here? Think about it in a circle. The kitten's small whiskers. Doesn't this circle also have direction? Let's take this direction and incorporate it into the circle too. The kitten's chest. Fur direction in this circle. Bring that out. The line direction goes from here, gradually rotating this way, connecting straight up. Bring out this direction. The front color becomes lighter on the kitten's body. Bring out all the brown patterns on the outline. Don't try to trace that contour line. You can make it look fluffy, isn't that possible too? It'll be more interesting. Then as you move further away, it all has some brown coloring. Similarly, organize the small patterns, a fluffy little kitten. If you want your drawing to look refined, then your lines need to be very precise, need to be more detailed. Your drawing will look more polished. Here's its tail. Let's add the darkest color too. These are the lines for its tail. This part is basically done, right? Start moving to the right. This is darker. The bottom is also darker. I've mentioned this several times, right? It's also a key point I've made. First draw the darker colors, then draw the lighter colors. Your drawing will look more natural and comfortable, and it's easier to master because you can see at a glance which parts are darkest, right? This is a darker color visible across the entire kitten, right? Then we'll add a little detail to its small paws. Let's also follow the position of the last foot here. For example, starting from the eyes, there are small short lines nearby that we can draw lightly with this pen color. Then let's do the cat's eyes here, connecting between them toward the back. Are there some light fur strands here? Bring it in this direction. Bring it over, going backward. When it connects to the outside, isn't the color lighter? Moving upward, same principle, connect it over and back. The hair is slightly gray. This is the color around the cat's eye, much lighter than above, extending upward, gradually fading for transition. You'll notice the whole image is expressed using line arrangements. The small bright areas are all connected now. The mouth goes from this point in this direction, wrapping around. This is also the direction of the small mouth, the shape of the small mouth. The lip line is wider, wipe away excess skin lines. Small fuzzy hair. Isn't the face becoming clearer now? It has details, right? There are many small details now, not as rough as those thick lines before. Now let's connect the neck, following along. Follow this bright gray area. This side is dark, that side is dark, so the middle won't be very bright. So we'll add just a slight bit of color. Now we're slowly adding these small gray tones. For small directions, just connect them. Link them together, including the kitten's tail color. There's also a bright area. Add this highlight too, though not quite so bright. Isn't the speed quite fast? If your line work is neat enough, you can work quickly too. We've lined one side of the entire picture. Finally, we return to the complete picture. Remember what we discussed at the end of our last lesson? Erasers can also be used for line work, so we're making an adjustment at this stage now. Let's soften the areas where we've applied color. You can use an eraser to define areas where the small tooth marks aren't very clear, right? Add some fine directional lines to make the drawing more detailed. I mentioned earlier that drawing with a charcoal pencil is what we call an additive process. Use the eraser to lighten areas, right? When adding small lines, what technique are we using? Subtraction. So when doing line work, we can use not just charcoal pencils, but erasers too. We're using the eraser for subtraction. On the small ears, we can add some fine lines to make them look more lively. This part of the ear is brighter, so what can we do with the eraser? Make it a bit brighter, including the areas below, lighten them a bit. On the kitten's face, isn't this color area a bit too dark? I can use the eraser to add some white fur strands. Can you see the more defined white hair strands now? It makes the drawing look more refined and attractive. The area below also needs to be highlighted. Moving down, the color on the entire chest area is quite light. We can use the eraser to create lines and reduce the color intensity. Make it a bit more visible and translucent. Let's lighten the color on the chest. We're making it white, so it needs to be clear and clean. Isn't this area too dark? So let's lighten this whole section a bit. Haven't we demonstrated all the techniques we've covered? All these techniques are shown on the kitten's bodies. This makes your drawing look more refined. Around this entire circle, from top to bottom and to the back, there are small highlights on the tail. If you squint, you can see it. Let's bring out that little tail. Bring it out. Now the entire circle with small highlights is complete. Let's clean around the edges of the paper to ensure a neat drawing. Wipe away the guidelines. Erase the distant tail, small outlines, and the little arrows we added earlier. These small arrows help ensure the drawing stays clean and tidy. Good. The kitten's form is basically complete. Finally, let's use the kneaded eraser to refine this sharp area. What are we doing? Adding a highlight to make the eyes look more detailed. It doesn't need to be too bright, just a light color added in. There, a small highlight appears on the round eyes. Let's add one in this position too. Can you see how the kitten now has a mysterious look? These are the line techniques we've covered in this lesson. Long lines, short lines, carbon pencil lines, and eraser techniques.